The First Book of Samuel, Chapter 1. There was a man of one of the two Ramathaim-Zophim of Mount Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. And he had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. And this man went up out of his city every year to worship and to sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts in Shiloh, where were the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, priests of the Lord. And on a day when Elkanah sacrificed, he gave to Peninnah his wife and to all her sons and daughters portions. But unto Hannah he gave a worthy portion, for he loved Hannah, and the Lord had made her barren. And her adversary vexed her sore, forasmuch as she upbraided her, because the Lord had made her barren. And so did he year by year, and as oft as she went up to the house of the Lord, thus she vexed her, that she wept and did not eat. Then said Elkanah her husband to her, Hannah, why weepest thou? And why eatest thou not? And why is thine heart troubled? Am not I better to thee than 10 sons? So Hannah rose up after that they had eaten and drunk in Shiloh. And Eli the priest sat upon a stool by one of the posts of the temple of the Lord. And she was troubled in her mind, and prayed unto the Lord, and wept sore. Also she vowed a vow, and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt look on the trouble of thine handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but give unto thine handmaid a man-child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. And as she continued praying before the Lord, Eli marked her mouth. For Hannah spake in her heart, her lips did move only, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she had been drunken. And Eli said unto her, How long wilt thou be drunken? Put away thy drunkenness from thee. Then Hannah answered and said, Nay, my lord, but I am a woman troubled in spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Count not thine handmaid for a wicked woman, for of the abundance of my complaint and my grief have I spoken hitherto. Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thy petition that thou hast asked of him. She said again, Let thine handmaid find grace in thy sight. So the woman went her way, and did eat, and looked no more sad. Then they rose up early, and worshipped before the Lord, and returned, and came to their house to Ramah. Now Elkanah knew Hannah, his wife, and the Lord remembered her. For in process of time Hannah conceived, and bare a son, and she called his name Samuel. Because, said she, I have asked him of the Lord. So the man Elkanah and all his house went up to offer unto the Lord the yearly sacrifice and his vow. But Hannah went not up. For she said unto her husband, I will tarry until the child be weaned. Then I will bring him, that he may appear before the Lord, and there abide forever. And Elkanah her husband said unto her, Do what seemeth thee best. Tarry until thou hast weaned him. Only the Lord accomplish his word. So the woman abode, and gave her son suck, until she weaned him. And when she had weaned him, she took him with her with 3 bullocks, and an ephah of flour, and a bottle of wine, and brought him unto the house of the Lord in Shiloh, and the child was young. And they slew a bullock, and brought the child to Eli. And she said, O my Lord, as thy soul liveth, my Lord, I am the woman that stood with thee here praying unto the Lord. I prayed for this child, and the Lord hath given me my desire, which I asked of him. Therefore also I have given him unto the Lord. As long as he liveth, he shall be given unto the Lord. And he worshipped the Lord there. 1 Samuel chapter 2. And Hannah prayed, and said, Mine heart rejoiceth in the Lord, mine horn is exalted in the Lord. My mouth is enlarged over mine enemies, because I rejoice in thy salvation. There is none holy as the Lord, yea, there is none besides thee, and there is no God like our God. Speak no more presumptuously, let not arrogancy come out of your mouth. For the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him enterprises are established. The bow and the mighty men are broken, and the weak have girded themselves with strength. They that were full are hired forth for bread, and the hungry are no more hired, so that the barren hath borne 7, and she that had many children is feeble. The Lord killeth and maketh alive, bringeth down to the grave, and raiseth up. The Lord maketh poor, and maketh rich, bringeth low, and exalteth. He raiseth up the poor out of the dust, and lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill, to set them among princes, and to make them inherit the seat of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he hath set the world upon them. He will keep the feet of his saints, and the wicked shall keep silence in darkness. For in his own might shall no man be strong. The Lord's adversaries shall be destroyed, and out of heaven shall he thunder upon them. The Lord shall judge the ends of the world, and shall give power unto his king, and exalt the horn of his anointed. And Elkanah went to Ramah to his house, and the child did minister unto the Lord before Eli the priest. Now the sons of Eli were wicked men, and knew not the Lord. For the priest's custom toward the people was this: when any man offered sacrifice, the priest's boy came, while the flesh was seething, and a fleshhook with 3 teeth in his hand, and thrust it into the kettle, or into the cauldron, or into the pan, or into the pot. All that the fleshhook brought up, the priest took for himself. Thus they did unto all the Israelites that came thither to Shiloh. Yea, before they burnt the fat, the priest's boy came, and said unto the man that offered, Give me flesh to roast for the priest, for he will not have sodden flesh of thee, but raw. And if any man said unto him, Let them burn the fat according to the custom, then take as much as thine heart desireth, then he would answer, No, but thou shalt give it now, and if thou wilt not, I will take it by force. Therefore the sin of the young men was very great before the Lord, for men abhorred the offering of the Lord. Now Samuel, being a young child, ministered before the Lord, girded with a linen ephod. And his mother made him a little coat, and brought it to him from year to year, when she came up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. And Eli blessed Elkanah and his wife, and said, The Lord give thee seed of this woman, for the petition that she asked of the Lord. And they departed unto their place. And the Lord visited Hannah, so that she conceived, and bare 3 sons and 2 daughters. And the child Samuel grew before the Lord. So Eli was very old, and heard all that his sons did unto all Israel, and how they lay with the women that assembled at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he said unto them, Why do ye such things? For of all this people I hear evil reports of you. Do no more, my sons, for it is no good report that I hear, which is that ye make the Lord's people to trespass. If one man sin against another, the judge shall judge it. But if a man sin against the Lord, who will plead for him? Notwithstanding they obeyed not the voice of their father, because the Lord would slay them. Now the child Samuel profited, and grew, and was in favor with the Lord, and also with men. And there came a man of God unto Eli, and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Did not I plainly appear unto the house of thy father, when they were in Egypt in Pharaoh's house? And I chose him out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to offer upon my altar, and to burn incense, and to wear an ephod before me. And I gave unto the house of thy father all the offerings made by fire of the children of Israel. Wherefore have you kicked against my sacrifice and mine offering, which I commanded in my tabernacle? And honourest thy children above me, to make yourselves fat of the first fruits of all the offerings of Israel my people. Wherefore the Lord God of Israel saith, I said that thine house and the house of thy father should walk before me forever. But now the Lord saith, It shall not be so, for them that honour me I will honour, and they that despise me shall be despised. Behold, the days come, that I will cut off thine arm, and the arm of thy father's house, that there shall not be an old man in thine house. And thou shalt see thine enemy in the habitation of the Lord in all things wherewith God shall bless Israel, and there shall not be an old man in thine house forever. Nevertheless, I will not destroy every one of thine from mine altar, to make thine eyes to fail, and to make thine heart sorrowful, and all the multitude of thine house shall die when they be men. And this shall be a sign unto thee, that shall come upon thy two sons, Hophni and Phinehas. In one day they shall die both, and I will stir me up a faithful priest, that shall do according to mine heart, and according to my mind. And I will build him a sure house, and he shall walk before mine anointed forever. And all that are left in thine house shall come and bow down to him for a piece of silver and a morsel of bread, and shall say, Appoint me, I pray thee, to one of the priest's offices, that I may eat a morsel of bread. 1 Samuel chapter 3. Now the child Samuel ministered unto the Lord before Eli, and the word of the Lord was precious in those days, for there was no manifest vision. And at that time, as Eli lay in his place, his eyes began to wax dim, that he could not see, and ere the light of God went out, Samuel slept in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called Samuel, and he said, Here I am. And he ran unto Eli, and said, Here am I. For thou calledst me. But he said, I called thee not. Go again and sleep. And he went and slept. And the Lord called once again, Samuel. And Samuel arose, and went to Eli, and said, I am here, for thou didst call me. And he answered, I called thee not, my son. Go again and sleep. Thus did Samuel, before he knew the Lord, and before the word of the Lord was revealed unto him. And the Lord called Samuel again, the third time. And he arose, and went to Eli, and said, I am here, for thou hast called me. Then Eli perceived that the Lord had called the child. Therefore Eli said unto Samuel, Go and sleep. And if he call thee, then say, Speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. So Samuel went, and slept in his place. And the Lord came, and stood, and called, as at other times, Samuel, Samuel. Then Samuel answered, Speak, for thy servant heareth. Then the Lord said unto Samuel, Behold, I will do a thing in Israel, whereof whosoever shall hear, his 2 ears shall tingle. In that day I will raise up against Eli all things which I have spoken concerning his house. When I begin, I will also make an end. And I have told him that I will judge his house forever, for the iniquity which he knoweth, because his sons ran into a slander, and he stayed them not. Now therefore I have sworn unto the house of Eli, that the wickedness of Eli's house shall not be purged with sacrifice nor offering forever. Afterward Samuel slept until the morning, and opened the doors of the house of the Lord, and Samuel feared to show Eli the vision. Then Eli called Samuel, and said, Samuel, my son? And he answered, Here I am. Then he said, What is it that the Lord said unto thee? I pray thee, hide it not from me. God do so to thee, and more also, if thou hide anything from me of all that he said unto thee. So Samuel told him every whit, and hid nothing from him. Then he said, It is the Lord. Let him do what seemeth him good. And Samuel grew, and the Lord was with him, and let none of his words fall to the ground. And all Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, knew that faithful Samuel was the Lord's prophet. And the Lord appeared again in Shiloh, for the Lord revealed himself to Samuel in Shiloh by his word. 1 Samuel, chapter 4. And Samuel spake unto all Israel, and Israel went out against the Philistines to battle, and pitched beside Ebenezer, and the Philistines pitched in Aphek. And the Philistines put themselves in array against Israel. And when they joined the battle, Israel was smitten down before the Philistines, who slew of the army in the field about 4,000 men. So when the people were come into the camp, the elders of Israel said, Wherefore hath the Lord smitten us this day before the Philistines? Let us bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of Shiloh unto us, that when it cometh among us, it may save us out of the hand of our enemies. Then the people sent to Shiloh, and brought from thence the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, who dwelleth between the cherubims. And there were the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, with the ark of the covenant of God. And when the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the host, all Israel shouted a mighty shout, so that the earth rang again. And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said, What meaneth the sound of this mighty shout in the host of the Hebrews? And they understood that the ark of the Lord was come into the host. And the Philistines were afraid, and said, God is come in the host. Therefore said they, Woe unto us, for it hath not been so heretofore. Woe unto us! Who shall deliver us out of the hand of these mighty gods? These are the gods that smote the Egyptians with all the plagues in the wilderness. Be strong and play the men, O Philistines, that ye be not servants unto the Hebrews. As they have served you, be valiant therefore, and fight. And the Philistines fought, and Israel was smitten down, and fled every man into his tent. And there was an exceeding great slaughter, for there fell of Israel 30,000 footmen. And the ark of God was taken, and the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, died. And there ran a man of Benjamin out of the army, and came to Shiloh the same day with his clothes rent, and earth upon his head. And when he came, lo, Eli sat upon a seat by the wayside, waiting. For his heart feared for the ark of God. And when the man came into the city to tell it, all the city cried out. And when Eli heard the noise of the crying, he said, What meaneth this noise of the tumult? And the man came in hastily, and told Eli. Now Eli was 80 years old, and his eyes were dim, that he could not see. And the man said unto Eli, I came from the army, and I fled this day out of the host. And he said, What thing is done, my son? Then the messenger answered, and said, Israel is fled before the Philistines. And there hath been also a great slaughter among the people. And moreover, thy 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead. And the ark of God is taken. And when he had made mention of the ark of God, Eli fell from his seat backward by the side of the gate, and his neck was broken, and he died. For he was an old man, and heavy, and he had judged Israel 40 years. And his daughter-in-law, Phinehas' wife, was with child, near her travail. And when she heard the report that the ark of God was taken, and that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed herself and travailed, for her pains came upon her. And about the time of her death, the women that stood about her said unto her, Fear not, for thou hast borne a son. But she answered not, nor regarded it. And she named the child Ichabod, saying, The glory is departed from Israel, because the ark of God was taken, and because of her father-in-law and her husband. She said again, The glory is departed from Israel, for the ark of God is taken. First Samuel, chapter 5. Then the Philistines took the ark of God, and carried it from Ebenezer unto Ashdod. Even the Philistines took the ark of God, and brought it into the house of Dagon, and set it by Dagon. And when they of Ashdod rose the next day in the morning, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face, on the ground before the ark of the Lord. And they took up Dagon, and set him in his place again. Also they rose up early in the morning the next day, and behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face on the ground before the ark of the Lord, and the head of Dagon and the 2 palms of his hands were cut off upon the threshold. Only the stump of Dagon was left to him. Therefore the priests of Dagon, and all that come into Dagon's house, tread not on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod unto this day. But the hand of the Lord was heavy upon them of Ashdod, and destroyed them, and smote them with the emerods, both Ashdod and the coasts thereof. And when the men of Ashdod saw this, they said, Let not the ark of the God of Israel abide with us, for his hand is sore upon us, and upon Dagon our God. They sent therefore the princes of the Philistines unto them, and said, What shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel? And they answered, Let the ark of the God of Israel be carried about unto Gath. And they carried the ark of the God of Israel about. And when they had carried it about, the hand of the Lord was against the city, with a very great destruction. And he smote the men of the city, both small and great, and they had emerods in their secret parts. Therefore they sent the ark of God to Ekron, and as soon as the ark of God came to Ekron, the Ekronites cried out, saying, They have brought the ark of the God of Israel to us to slay us and our people. Therefore they sent, and gathered together all the princes of the Philistines, and said, Send away the ark of the God of Israel, and let it return to his own place, that it slay us not and our people. For there was a destruction and death throughout all the city, and the hand of God was very sore there. And the men that died not were smitten with the emerods. And the cry of the city went up to heaven. 1 Samuel chapter 6. So the ark of the Lord was in the country of the Philistines 7 months, and the Philistines called the priests and the soothsayers, saying, What shall we do with the ark of the Lord? Tell us wherewith we shall send it home again. And they said, If you send away the ark of the God of Israel, send it not away empty, but give unto it a sin offering. Then shall ye be healed, and it shall be known to you why his hand departeth not from you. Then said they, What shall be the sin offering, which we shall give unto it? And they answered, 5 golden emerods, and 5 golden mice, according to the number of the princes of the Philistines. For 1 plague was on you all, and on your princes. Wherefore ye shall make the similitudes of your emerods, and the similitudes of your mice that destroy the land. So ye shall give glory unto the God of Israel, that he may take his hand from you, and from your gods, and from your land. Wherefore then should ye harden your hearts, as the Egyptians and Pharaoh hardened their hearts, when he wrought wonderfully among them. Did they not let them go, and they departed? Now therefore make a new cart, and take 2 milch kine, on whom there hath come no yoke, and tie the kine to the cart, and bring the calves home from them. Then take the ark of the Lord, and set it upon the cart, and put the jewels of gold which ye give it for a sin offering in a coffer by the side thereof, and send it away, that it may go. And take heed, if it go up by the way of his own coast to Bethshemesh, it is he that did us this great evil. But if not, we shall know then that it is not his hand that smote us, but it was a chance that happened us. And the men did so, for they took 2 kine that gave milk, and tied them to the cart, and shut the calves at home. So they set the ark of the Lord upon the cart, and the coffer with the mice of gold, and with the similitudes of their emerods. And the kine went the straight way to Bethshemesh, and kept 1 path, and lowed as they went, and turned neither to the right hand nor to the left. Also the princes of the Philistines went after them, unto the borders of Bethshemesh. Now they of Bethshemesh were reaping their wheat harvest in the valley, and they lift up their eyes, and spied the ark, and rejoiced when they saw it. And the cart came into the field of Joshua, a Bethshemite, and stood still there. There was also a great stone, and they clave the wood of the cart, and offered the kine for a burnt offering unto the Lord. And the Levites took down the ark of the Lord, and the coffer that was with it, wherein the jewels of gold were, and put them on the great stone. And the men of Bethshemesh offered burnt offering, and sacrificed sacrifices that same day unto the Lord. And when the 5 princes of the Philistines had seen it, they returned to Ekron the same day. So these are the golden emerods, which the Philistines gave for a sin offering to the Lord. For Ashdod 1, for Gaza 1, for Askelon 1, for Gath 1, and for Ekron 1. And golden mice, according to the number of all the cities of the Philistines, belonging to the 5 princes, both of walled towns and of towns unwalled, unto the great stone of Abel, whereon they set the ark of the Lord, which stone remaineth unto this day in the field of Joshua the Bethshemite. And he smote of the men of Bethshemesh, because they had looked in the ark of the Lord. He slew even among the people 50,000 men, and 70 men. And the people lamented, because the Lord had slain the people with so great a slaughter. Wherefore the men of Bethshemesh said, Who is able to stand before this holy Lord God? And to whom shall he go from us? And they sent messengers to the inhabitants of Kiriath-jearim, saying, The Philistines have brought again the ark of the Lord. Come ye down, and take it up to you. 1 Samuel chapter 7. Then the men of Kiriath-jearim came, and took up the ark of the Lord, and brought it into the house of Abinadab, in the hill. And they sacrificed Eleazar his son, to keep the ark of the Lord. For while the ark abode in Kiriath-jearim, the time was long, for it was 20 years, and all the house of Israel lamented after the Lord. Then Samuel spake unto all the house of Israel, saying, If ye be come again unto the Lord with all your heart, put away the strange gods from among you, and Ashtoreth, and direct your hearts unto the Lord, and serve him only, and he shall deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines. Then the children of Israel did put away Baal and Ashtoreth, and served the Lord only. And Samuel said, Gather all Israel to Mizpah, and I will pray for you unto the Lord. And they gathered together to Mizpah, and drew water, and poured it out before the Lord, and fasted the same day, and said there, We have sinned against the Lord. And Samuel judged the children of Israel in Mizpah. When the Philistines heard that the children of Israel were gathered together to Mizpah, the princes of the Philistines went up against Israel. And when the children of Israel heard that, they were afraid of the Philistines. And the children of Israel said to Samuel, Cease not to cry unto the Lord our God for us, that he may save us out of the hand of the Philistines. Then Samuel took a sucking lamb, and offered it altogether for a burnt offering unto the Lord. And Samuel cried unto the Lord for Israel, and the Lord heard him. And as Samuel offered the burnt offering, the Philistines came to fight against Israel. But the Lord thundered with a great thunder that day upon the Philistines, and scattered them, so they were slain before Israel. And the men of Israel went from Mizpah, and pursued the Philistines, and smote them, until they came under Bethkar. Then Samuel took a stone, and pitched it between Mizpah and Shen, and called the name thereof Ebenezer. And he said, Hitherto hath the Lord helped us. So the Philistines were brought under, and they came no more again into the coasts of Israel. And the hand of the Lord was against the Philistines all the days of Samuel. Also the cities which the Philistines had taken from Israel were restored to Israel, from Ekron even to Gath. And Israel delivered the coasts of the same out of the hands of the Philistines. And there was peace between Israel and the Amorites. And Samuel judged Israel all the days of his life, and went about year by year to Bethel, and Gilgal, and Mizpah, and judged Israel in all those places. Afterward he returned to Ramah, for there was his house, and there he judged Israel. Also he built an altar there unto the Lord. 1 Samuel chapter 8. When Samuel was now become old, he made his sons judges over Israel. And the name of his eldest son was Joel, and the name of his second Abijah, even judges in Beersheba. And his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, and took rewards, and perverted the judgment. Wherefore all the elders of Israel gathered them together, and came to Samuel unto Ramah, and said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Make us now a king, to judge us like all nations. But the thing displeased Samuel, when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Samuel, Hear the voice of the people, in all that they shall say unto thee, for they have not cast thee away, but they have cast me away, that I should not reign over them. As they have ever done since I brought them out of Egypt, even unto this day, and have forsaken me and served other gods, even so do they unto thee. Now therefore hearken unto their voice, howbeit yet testify unto them, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. So Samuel told all the words of the Lord unto the people that asked a king of him. And he said, This shall be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons, and appoint them to his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariot. Also he will make them his captains over thousands, and captains over 50s, and to ear his ground, and to reap his harvest, and to make instruments of war, and the things that serve for his chariots. He will also take your daughters, and make them apothecaries, and cooks, and bakers. And he will take your fields, and your vineyards, and your best olive trees, and give them to his servants. And he will take the tenth of your seed, and of your vineyards, and give it to his eunuchs, and to his servants. And he will take your men servants, and your maidservants, and the chief of your young men, and your asses, and put them to his work. He will take the tenth of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants. And ye shall cry out at that day, because of your king, whom ye have chosen you, and the Lord will not hear you at that day. But the people would not hear the voice of Samuel, but did say, Nay, but there shall be a king over us, and we also will be like all other nations, and our king shall judge us, and go out before us, and fight our battles. Therefore when Samuel heard all the words of the people, he rehearsed them in the ears of the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, Hearken unto their voice, and make them a king. And Samuel said unto the men of Israel, Go every man unto his city. 1 Samuel chapter 9. There was now a man of Benjamin, mighty in power, named Kish, the son of Abiel, the son of Zeror, the son of Bechorath, the son of Aphiah, the son of a man of Benjamin. And he had a son called Saul, a goodly young man and of fair, so that among the children of Israel there was none goodlier than he. From the shoulders upward he was higher than any of the people. And the asses of Kish, Saul's father, were lost. Therefore Kish said to Saul his son, Take now one of the servants with thee, and arise, go and seek the asses. So he passed through Mount Ephraim, and went through the land of Shalisha, but they found them not. Then they went through the land of Shalem, and there they were not. He went also through the land of Benjamin, but they found them not. When they came to the land of Zuph, Saul said unto his servant that was with him, Come, and let us return, lest my father leave the care of asses, and take thought for us. And he said unto him, Behold now, in this city is a man of God, and he is an honorable man. All that he saith cometh to pass. Let us now go thither, if so be that he can show us what way we may go. Then Saul said to his servant, Well then, let us go. But what shall we bring unto the man? For the bread is spent in our vessels, and there is no present to bring to the man of God. What have we? And the servant answered Saul again, and said, Behold, I have found about me the 4th part of a shekel of silver. That will I give the man of God, to tell us our way. Beforetime in Israel, when a man went to seek an answer of God, thus he spake, Come, and let us go to the seer, for he that is called now a prophet was in the old time called a seer. Then said Saul to his servant, Well said, come, let us go. So they went into the city where the man of God was. And as they were going up the highway to the city, they found maids that came out to draw water, and said unto them, Is there here a seer? And they answered him and said, Yea, lo, he is before you. Make haste now, for he came this day to the city. for there is an offering of the people this day in the high place. When ye shall come into the city, ye shall find him straightway, ere he come up to the high place to eat. For the people will not eat until he come, because he will bless the sacrifice. And then eat they that be bidden to the feast. Now therefore go up, for even now shall ye find him. Then they went up into the city. And when they were come into the midst of the city, Samuel came out against them, to go up to the high place. But the Lord had revealed to Samuel secretly, a day before Saul came, saying, Tomorrow about this time I will send thee a man out of the land of Benjamin. Him shalt thou anoint to be governor over my people Israel, that he may save my people out of the hands of the Philistines. For I have looked upon my people, and their cry is come unto me. When Samuel therefore saw Saul, the Lord answered him, See, this is the man whom I spake to thee of. He shall rule my people. Then went Saul to Samuel in the midst of the gate, and said, Tell me, I pray thee, where the seer's house is. And Samuel answered Saul, and said, I am the seer. Go up before me unto the high place, for ye shall eat with me today, and tomorrow I will let thee go, and will tell thee all that is in thine heart. And as for thine asses that were lost 3 days ago, care not for them, for they are found. And on whom is set all the desire of Israel? Is it not upon thee, and on all thy father's house? But Saul answered, and said, Am not I the son of Benjamin of the smallest tribe of Israel? And my family is the least of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin. Wherefore then speakest thou so to me? And Samuel took Saul and his servant, and brought them into the chamber, and made them sit in the chiefest place among them that were bidden, which were about 30 persons. And Samuel said unto the cook, Bring forth the portion which I gave thee, and whereof I said unto thee, Keep it with thee. And the cook took up the shoulder, and that which was upon it, and set it before Saul. And Samuel said, Behold, that which is left, set it before thee, and eat. For hitherto hath it been kept for thee, saying, Also I have called the people. So Saul did eat with Samuel that day. And when they were come down from the high place into the city, he communed with Saul upon the top of the house. And when they arose early about the spring of the day, Samuel called Saul to the top of the house, saying, Up, that I may send thee away. And Saul arose, and they went out, both he and Samuel. And when they were come down to the end of the city, Samuel said to Saul, Bid the servant go before us. And he went. But stand thou still now, that I may show thee the word of God. 1 Samuel chapter 10. Then Samuel took a vial of oil, and poured it upon his head, and kissed him, and said, Hath not the Lord anointed thee to be governor over his inheritance? When thou shalt depart from me this day, thou shalt find 2 men by Rachel's sepulchre in the border of Benjamin, even at Zelzah. And they will say unto thee, The asses which thou wentest to seek are found, and lo, thy father hath left the care of the asses, and sorroweth for you, saying, What shall I do for my son? Then shalt thou go forth from thence, and shalt come to the plain of Tabor, and there shall meet thee 3 men going up to God to Bethel, one carrying 3 kids, and another carrying 3 loaves of bread, and another carrying a bottle of wine. And they will ask thee if all be well, and will give thee the 2 loaves of bread which thou shalt receive of their hands. After that shalt thou come to the hill of God, where is the garrisons of the Philistines. And when thou art come thither to the city, thou shalt meet a company of prophets, coming down from the high place with a vial, and a timbrel, and a pipe, and an harp before them, and they shall prophesy. Then the Spirit of the Lord will come upon thee, and thou shalt prophesy with them, and shalt be turned into another man. Therefore when these signs shall come unto thee, do as occasion shall serve, for God is with thee. And thou shalt go down before me to Gilgal, and I also will come down unto thee to offer burnt offerings, and to sacrifice sacrifices of peace. Tarry for me 7 days, till I come to thee, and show thee what thou shalt do. And when he had turned his back to go from Samuel, God gave him another heart, and all those tokens came to pass that same day. And when they came thither to the hill, behold, the company of prophets met him, and the Spirit of God came upon him, and he prophesied among them. Therefore all the people that knew him before, when they saw that he prophesied among the prophets, said each to other, What is come unto the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets? And one of the same place answered and said, But who is their father? Therefore it was a proverb, Is Saul also among the prophets? And when he had made an end of prophesying, he came to the high place. And Saul's uncle said unto him, and to his servant, Whither went ye? And he said, To seek the asses. And when we saw that they were nowhere, we came to Samuel. And Saul's uncle said, Tell me, I pray thee, what Samuel said unto you. Then Saul said to his uncle, He told us plainly that the asses were found. But concerning the kingdom whereof Samuel spake, told he him not. And Samuel assembled the people unto the Lord in Mizpah. And he said unto the children of Israel, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I have brought Israel out of Egypt, and delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hands of all kingdoms that troubled you. But ye have this day cast away your God, who only delivereth you out of all your adversities and tribulations. And ye said unto him, No, but appoint a king over us. Now therefore stand ye before the Lord according to your tribes, and according to your thousands. And when Samuel had gathered together all the tribes of Israel, the tribe of Benjamin was taken. Afterward he assembled the tribe of Benjamin according to their families, and the family of Matri was taken. So Saul the son of Kish was taken. And when they sought him, he could not be found. Therefore they asked the Lord again, if that man should yet come thither. And the Lord answered, Behold, he hath hid himself among the stuff. And they ran, and brought him thence. And when he stood among the people, he was higher than any of the people from the shoulders upward. And Samuel said to all the people, See ye not him whom the Lord hath chosen, that there is none like him among all the people? And all the people shouted and said, God save the king. Then Samuel told the people the duty of the kingdom, and wrote it in a book, and laid it up before the Lord. And Samuel sent all the people away, every man to his house. Saul also went home to Gibeah, and there followed him a band of men, whose heart God had touched. But the wicked men said, How shall he save us? So they despised him, and brought him no presents. But he held his tongue. 1 Samuel chapter 11. Then Nahash the Ammonite came up, and besieged Jabesh-Gilead. And all the men of Jabesh said unto Nahash, Make a covenant with us, and we will be thy servants. And Nahash the Ammonite answered them, On this condition will I make a covenant with you, that I may thrust out all your right eyes, and bring that shame upon all Israel. To whom the elders of Jabesh said, Give us 7 days' respite, that we may send messengers unto all the coasts of Israel. And then, if no man deliver us, we will come out to thee. Then came the messengers to Gibeah of Saul, and told these tidings in the ears of the people. And all the people lift up their voices, and wept. And behold, Saul came following the cattle out of the field, and Saul said, What aileth this people, that they weep? And they told him the tidings of the men of Jabesh. Then the Spirit of God came upon Saul, when he heard those tidings, and he was exceeding angry, and took a yoke of oxen, and hewed them in pieces, and sent them throughout all the coasts of Israel by the hands of messengers, saying, Whosoever cometh not forth after Saul and after Samuel, so shall his oxen be served. And the fear of the Lord fell on the people, and they came out with one consent. And when he numbered them in Bezek, the children of Israel were 300,000 men, and the men of Judah 30,000. Then they said unto the messengers that came, So say unto the men of Jabesh Gilead, Tomorrow by then the sun be hot, ye shall have help. And the messengers came and showed it to the men of Jabesh, which were glad. Therefore the men of Jabesh said, Tomorrow we will come out unto you, and ye shall do with us all that pleaseth you. And when the morrow was come, Saul put the people in 3 bands, and they came in upon the host in the morning watch, and slew the Ammonites until the heat of the day. And they that remained were scattered, so that 2 of them were not left together. Then the people said unto Samuel, Who is he that said, Shall Saul reign over us? Bring those men, that we may slay them. But Saul said, There shall no man die this day, for today the Lord hath saved Israel. Then said Samuel unto the people, Come, that we may go to Gilgal, and renew the kingdom there. So all the people went to Gilgal, and made Saul king there before the Lord in Gilgal. And there they offered peace offerings before the Lord. And there Saul and all the men of Israel rejoiced exceedingly. 1 Samuel chapter 12. Samuel then said unto all Israel, Behold, I have hearkened unto your voice in all that ye said unto me, and have appointed a king over you. Now therefore, behold, your king walketh before you, and I am old and grey-headed, and behold, my sons are with you, and I have walked before you from my childhood unto this day. Behold, here I am, bear record of me before the Lord and before his anointed. Whose ox have I taken? Or whose ass have I taken? Or whom have I done wrong to? Or whom have I hurt? Or of whose hand have I received any bribe, to blind mine eyes therewith? And I will restore it to you. Then they said, Thou hast done us no wrong, nor hast hurt us, neither hast thou taken aught of any man's hand. And he said unto them, The Lord is witness against you, and his anointed is witness this day, that ye have found naught in mine hands. And they answered, He is witness. Then Samuel said unto the people, It is the Lord that made Moses and Aaron, and that brought your fathers out of the land of Egypt. Now therefore stand still, that I may reason with you before the Lord according to all the righteousness of the Lord, which he showed to you and to your fathers. After that Jacob was come into Egypt, and your fathers cried unto the Lord, then the Lord sent Moses and Aaron, which brought your fathers out of Egypt, and made them dwell in this place. And when they forgot the Lord their God, he sold them into the hand of Sisera, captain of the host of Hazor, and into the hand of the Philistines, and into the hand of the king of Moab, and they fought against them. And they cried unto the Lord, and said, We have sinned, because we have forsaken the Lord, and have served Baal and Ashtoreth. Now therefore deliver us out of the hands of our enemies, and we will serve thee. Therefore the Lord sent Jerubbaal, and Bedan, and Jephthah, and Samuel, and delivered you out of the hands of your enemies on every side, and ye dwelled safe. Notwithstanding, when you saw that Nahash, the king of the children of Ammon, came against you, ye said unto me, No, but a king shall reign over us, when yet the Lord your God was your king. Now therefore behold the king whom ye have chosen, and whom ye have desired. Lo, therefore, the Lord hath set a king over you. If ye will fear the Lord, and serve him, and hear his voice, and not disobey the word of the Lord, both ye and the king that reigneth over you shall follow the Lord your God. But if ye will not obey the voice of the Lord, but disobey the Lord's mouth, then shall the hand of the Lord be upon you, and on your fathers. Now also stand and see this great thing which the Lord will do before your eyes. Is it not now wheat harvest? I will call unto the Lord, and he shall send thunder and rain, that ye may perceive and see, how that your wickedness is great, which ye have done in the sight of the Lord in asking you a king. Then Samuel called unto the Lord, and the Lord sent thunder and rain the same day. And all the people feared the Lord and Samuel exceedingly. And all the people said unto Samuel, Pray for thy servants unto the Lord thy God, that we die not, for we have sinned in asking us a king, beside all our other sins. And Samuel said unto the people, Fear not. Ye have indeed done all this wickedness, yet depart not from following the Lord, but serve the Lord with all your heart. Neither turn ye back, for that should be after vain things which cannot profit you, nor deliver you, for they are but vanity. For the Lord will not forsake his people for his great name's sake, because it hath pleased the Lord to make you his people. Moreover, God forbid that I should sin against the Lord, and cease praying for you. But I will show you the good and right way. Therefore fear you the Lord, and serve him in the truth with all your hearts, and consider how great things he hath done for you. But if ye do wickedly, ye shall perish, both ye and your king. 1 Samuel chapter 13. Saul now had been king 1 year, and he reigned 2 years over Israel. Then Saul chose him 3,000 of Israel, and 2,000 were with Saul in Michmash, and in Mount Bethel. And 1,000 were with Jonathan, in Gibeah of Benjamin. And the rest of the people he sent every one to his tent. And Jonathan smote the garrison of the Philistines that was in the hill. And it came to the Philistines' ears, and Saul blew the trumpet throughout all the land, saying, Hear, O ye Hebrews! And all Israel heard say, Saul hath destroyed a garrison of the Philistines. Wherefore Israel was had in abomination with the Philistines, and the people gathered together after Saul to Gilgal. The Philistines also gathered themselves together to fight with Israel, 30,000 chariots, and 6,000 horsemen. For the people was like the sand which is by the seaside in multitude, and came up, and pitched in Michmash eastward, from Bethaven. And when the men of Israel saw that they were in a strait, for the people were in distress, the people hid themselves in caves, and in holds, and in rocks, and in towers, and in pits. And some of the Hebrews went over Jordan unto the land of Gad and Gilead. And Saul was yet in Gilgal, and all the people for fear followed him. And he tarried 7 days, according unto the time that Samuel had appointed. But Samuel came not to Gilgal, therefore the people were scattered from him. And Saul said, Bring a burnt offering to me, and peace offerings. And he offered a burnt offering. And as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came, and Saul went forth to meet him, to salute him. And Samuel said, What hast thou done? Then Saul said, Because I saw that the people was scattered from me, and that thou camest not within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered themselves together to Michmash. Therefore said I, The Philistines will come down now upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto the Lord. I was bold, therefore, and offered a burnt offering. And Samuel said to Saul, Thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee. For the Lord had now stablished thy kingdom upon Israel forever. But now thy kingdom shall not continue. The Lord hath sought him a man after his own heart, and the Lord hath commanded him to be governor over his people, because thou hast not kept that which the Lord had commanded thee. And Samuel arose, and got him up from Gilgal, in Gibeah of Benjamin. And Saul numbered the people that were found with him about 600 men. And Saul and Jonathan his son, and the people that were found with them, had their abiding in Gibeah of Benjamin. But the Philistines pitched in Michmash. And there came out of the host of the Philistines 3 bands to destroy. One band turned unto the way of Ophrah, unto the land of Shual, and another band turned toward the way to Beth-horon, and the third band turned toward the way of the coast, that looketh toward the valley of Zeboim, toward the wilderness. Then there was no smith found throughout all the land of Israel. For the Philistines said, Lest the Hebrews make them swords or spears. Wherefore all the Israelites went down to the Philistines, to sharpen every man his share, his mattock, and his axe, and his weeding hook. Yet they had a file for the shares, and for the mattocks, and for the pickforks, and for the axes, and for to sharpen the goads. So when the day of battle was come, there was neither sword nor spear found in the hands of any of the people that were with Saul and with Jonathan, but only with Saul and Jonathan his son was there found. And the garrison of the Philistines came out to the passage of Michmash. 1 Samuel chapter 14. Then on a day Jonathan, the son of Saul, said unto the young man that bare his armor, Come, and let us go over toward the Philistines' garrison, that is yonder on the other side. But he told not his father. And Saul tarried in the border of Gibeah, under a pomegranate tree, which was in Migron. And the people that were with him were about 600 men. And Ahijah, the son of Ahitub, Ichabod's brother, the son of Phinehas, the son of Eli, was the Lord's priest in Shiloh, and wore an ephod, and the people knew not that Jonathan was gone. Now in the way whereby Jonathan sought to go over to the Philistines' garrison, there was a sharp rock on the one side, and a sharp rock on the other side. The name of one was called Bozez, and the name of the other Sina. The one rock stretched from the north toward Michmash, and the other was from the south toward Gibeah. And Jonathan said to the young man that bare his armor, Come, and let us go over unto the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that the Lord will work with us, for it is not hard to the Lord to save with many or with few. And he that bare his armor said unto him, Do all that is in thine heart, go where it pleaseth thee. Behold, I am with thee as thine heart desireth. Then said Jonathan, Behold, we go over unto those men, and will show ourselves unto them. If they say on this wise to us, Tarry until we come to you, then we will stand still in our place, and not go up to them. But if they say, Come up unto us, then we will go up, for the Lord hath delivered them into our hand, and this shall be a sign unto us. So they both showed themselves unto the garrison of the Philistines. And the Philistines said, See, the Hebrews come out of the holes wherein they had hid themselves. And the men of the garrison answered Jonathan and his armor-bearer, and said, Come up to us, for we will show you a thing. Then Jonathan said unto his armor-bearer, Come up after me, for the Lord hath delivered them into the hand of Israel. So Jonathan went up upon his hands and upon his feet, and his armor-bearer after him, and some fell before Jonathan, and his armor-bearer slew others after him. So the first slaughter which Jonathan and his armor-bearer made was about 20 men, as it were within half an acre of land which 2 oxen plough. And there was a fear in the host, and in the field, and among all the people, the garrison also, and they that went out to spoil were afraid themselves. And the earth trembled, for it was stricken with fear by God. Then the watchmen of Saul in Gibeah of Benjamin saw, and behold, the multitude was discomfited, and smitten as they went. Therefore said Saul unto the people that were with him, Search now, and see who is gone from us. And when they had numbered, behold, Jonathan and his armor-bearer were not there. And Saul said unto Ahijah, Bring hither the ark of God. For the ark of God was at that time with the children of Israel. And while Saul talked unto the priest, the noise that was in the host of the Philistines spread farther abroad, and increased. Therefore Saul said unto the priest, Withdraw thine hand. And Saul was assembled with all the people that were with him, and they came to the battle. And behold, every man's sword was against his fellow, and there was a very great discomfiture. Moreover, the Hebrews that were with the Philistines beforetime, and were come with them into all parts of the host, even they also turned to be with the Israelites, that were with Saul and Jonathan. Also all the men of Israel which had hid themselves in Mount Ephraim, when they heard that the Philistines were fled, they followed after them in the battle. And so the Lord saved Israel that day, and the battle continued unto Bethaven. And at that time the men of Israel were pressed with hunger. For Saul charged the people with an oath, saying, Cursed be the man that eateth food till night, that I may be avenged of mine enemies. So none of the people tasted any sustenance. And all they of the land came to a wood, where honey lay upon the ground. And the people came into the wood, and behold, the honey dropped, and no man moved his hand to his mouth, for the people feared the oath. But Jonathan heard not when his father charged the people with the oath. Wherefore he put forth the end of the rod that was in his hand, and dipped it in an honeycomb, and put his hand to his mouth, and his eyes received sight. Then answered one of the people, and said, Thy father made the people to swear, saying, Cursed be the man that eateth sustenance this day. And the people were faint. Then said Jonathan, My father hath troubled the land. See now how mine eyes are made clear, because I have tasted a little of this honey. How much more, if the people had eaten today of the spoil of their enemies which they found? For had there not been now a greater slaughter among the Philistines? And they smote the Philistines that day, from Michmash to Aijalon. And the people were exceeding faint. So the people turned to the spoil, and took sheep, and oxen, and calves, and slew them on the ground, and the people did eat them with the blood. Then men told Saul, saying, Behold, the people sin against the Lord, in that they eat with the blood. And he said, Ye have trespassed. Roll a great stone unto me this day. Again Saul said, Go abroad among the people, and bid them bring me every man his ox, and every man his sheep, and slay them here, and eat, and sin not against the Lord in eating with the blood. And the people brought every man his ox in his hand that night, and slew them there. Then Saul made an altar unto the Lord. And that was the first altar that he made unto the Lord. And Saul said, Let us go down after the Philistines by night, and spoil them until the morning shine, and let us not leave a man of them. And they said, Do whatsoever thou thinkest best. Then said the priest, Let us draw near hither unto God. So Saul asked of God, saying, Shall I go down after the Philistines? Wilt thou deliver them into the hands of Israel? But he answered him not at that time. And Saul said, All ye chief of the people, come ye hither, and know, and see by whom this sin is done this day. For as the Lord liveth, which saveth Israel, though it be done by Jonathan my son, he shall die the death. But none of all the people answered him. Then he said unto all Israel, Be ye on one side, and I and Jonathan my son will be on the other side. And the people said unto Saul, Do what thou thinkest best. Then Saul said unto the Lord God of Israel, Give a perfect lot. And Jonathan and Saul were taken, but the people escaped. And Saul said, Cast lot between me and Jonathan my son. And Jonathan was taken. Then Saul said to Jonathan, Tell me what thou hast done. And Jonathan told him, and said, I tasted a little honey with the end of the rod that was in mine hand, and lo, I must die. Again Saul answered, God do so and more also, unless thou die the death, Jonathan. And the people said unto Saul, Shall Jonathan die, who hath so mightily delivered Israel? God forbid. As the Lord liveth, there shall not one hair of his head fall to the ground, for he hath wrought with God this day. So the people delivered Jonathan, that he died not. Then Saul came up from the Philistines, and the Philistines went to their own place. So Saul held the kingdom over Israel, and fought against all his enemies on every side, against Moab, and against the children of Ammon, and against Edom, and against the kings of Zobah, and against the Philistines, and whithersoever he went, he handled them as wicked men. He gathered also an host, and smote Amalek, and delivered Israel out of the hands of them that spoiled them. Now the sons of Saul were Jonathan, and Jishui, and Malchishua. And the names of his 2 daughters, the elder was called Merab, and the younger was named Michal. And the name of Saul's wife was Ahinoam, the daughter of Ahimaaz. And the name of his chief captain was Abner, the son of Ner, Saul's uncle. And Kish was Saul's father, and Ner, the father of Abner, was the son of Abiel. And there was sore war against the Philistines all the days of Saul. And whomsoever Saul saw to be a strong man, and meet for the war, he took him unto him. 1 Samuel chapter 15. Afterward Samuel said unto Saul, The Lord sent me to anoint thee king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore obey the voice of the words of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I remember what Amalek did to Israel, how they laid wait for them in the way, as they came up from Egypt. Now therefore go, and smite Amalek, and destroy ye all that pertaineth unto them, and have no compassion on them, but slay both man and woman, both infant and suckling, both ox and sheep, both camel and ass. And Saul assembled the people, and numbered them in Telaim, 200,000 footmen, and 10,000 men of Judah. And Saul came to a city of Amalek, and set watch at the river. And Saul said unto the Kenites, Go, depart, and get you down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them, for ye showed mercy to all the children of Israel, when they came up from Egypt. And the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites. So Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah, as thou comest to Shur, that is, before Egypt, and took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Saul and the people spared Agag. And the better sheep, and the oxen, and the fat beasts, and the lambs, and all that was good. And they would not destroy them, but everything that was vile and not worth, that they destroyed. Then came the word of the Lord unto Samuel, saying, It repenteth me that I have made Saul king, for he is turned from me, and hath not performed my commandments. And Samuel was moved, and cried unto the Lord all night. And when Samuel arose early to meet Saul in the morning, one told Samuel, saying, Saul is gone to Carmel, and behold, he hath made him there a place, from whence he returned, and departed, and is gone down to Gilgal. Then Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said unto him, Blessed be thou of the Lord, I have fulfilled the commandment of the Lord. But Samuel said, What meaneth then the bleating of the sheep in mine ears, and the lowing of the oxen which I hear? And Saul answered, They have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen, to sacrifice them unto the Lord thy God, and the remnant have we destroyed. Again Samuel said to Saul, Let me tell thee what the Lord hath said to me this night. And he said unto him, Say on. Then Samuel said, When thou wast little in thine own sight, wast thou not made the head of the tribes of Israel? For the Lord anointed thee king over Israel. And the Lord sent thee on a journey, and said, Go, and destroy those sinners the Amalekites, and fight against them, until thou destroy them. Now wherefore hast thou not obeyed the voice of the Lord, but hast turned to the prey, and hast done wickedly in the sight of the Lord? And Saul said unto Samuel, Yea, I have obeyed the voice of the Lord, and have gone the way which the Lord sent me, and have brought Agag the king of Amalek, and have destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took of the spoil, sheep, and oxen, and the chiefest of the things which should have been destroyed, to offer unto the Lord thy God in Gilgal. And Samuel said, Hath the Lord as great pleasure in burnt offerings and sacrifices, as when the voice of the Lord is obeyed? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken is better than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and transgression is wickedness and idolatry. Because thou hast cast away the word of the Lord, therefore he hath cast away thee from being king. Then Saul said unto Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Lord, and thy words, because I feared the people, and obeyed their voice. Now therefore I pray thee, take away my sin, and turn again with me, that I may worship the Lord. But Samuel said unto Saul, I will not return with thee, for thou hast cast away the word of the Lord, and the Lord hath cast away thee, that thou shalt not be king over Israel. And as Samuel turned himself to go away, he caught the lap of his coat, and it rent. Then Samuel said unto him, The Lord hath rent the kingdom of Israel from thee this day, and hath given it to thy neighbor that is better than thou. For indeed the strength of Israel will not lie nor repent, for he is not a man that he should repent. Then he said, I have sinned, but honor me, I pray thee, before the elders of my people, and before Israel, and turn again with me, that I may worship the Lord thy God. So Samuel turned again, and followed Saul, and Saul worshipped the Lord. Then said Samuel, Bring ye hither to me Agag, the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came unto him pleasantly. And Agag said, Truly the bitterness of death is past. And Samuel said, As thy word hath made women childless, so shall thy mother be childless among other women. And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before the Lord in Gilgal. So Samuel departed to Ramah. And Saul went up to his house, to Gibeah of Saul. And Samuel came no more to see Saul until the day of his death. But Samuel mourned for Saul, and the Lord repented that he made Saul king over Israel. 1 Samuel chapter 16. The Lord then said unto Samuel, How long wilt thou mourn for Saul, seeing I have cast him away from reigning over Israel? Fill thine horn with oil, and come, I will send thee to Jesse, the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons. And Samuel said, How can I go? For if Saul shall hear it, he will kill me. Then the Lord answered, Take an heifer with thee, and say, I am come to do sacrifice to the Lord. And call Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show thee what thou shalt do. And thou shalt anoint unto me him whom I name unto thee. So Samuel did that the Lord bade him, and came to Bethlehem. And the elders of the town were astonished at his coming, and said, Comest thou peaceably? And he answered, Yea, I am come to do sacrifice unto the Lord. Sanctify yourselves, and come with me to the sacrifice. And he sanctified Jesse and his sons, and called them to the sacrifice. And when they were come, he looked on Eliab, and said, Surely the Lord's anointed is before him. But the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance, nor on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For God seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord beholdeth the heart. Then Jesse called Abinadab, and made him come before Samuel. And he said, Neither hath the Lord chosen this. Then Jesse made Shammah come. And he said, Neither yet hath the Lord chosen him. Again Jesse made his 7 sons to come before Samuel. And Samuel said unto Jesse, The Lord hath chosen none of these. Finally Samuel said unto Jesse, Are there no more children but these? And he said, There remaineth yet a little one behind that keepeth the sheep. Then Samuel said unto Jesse, Send and fet him, for we will not sit down till he be come hither. And he sent, and brought him in. And he was ruddy, and of a good countenance, and comely visage. And the Lord said, Arise, and anoint him, for this is he. Then Samuel took the horn of oil, and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. Then Samuel rose up, and went to Ramah. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit, sent of the Lord, vexed him. And Saul's servants said unto him, Behold now, the evil spirit of God vexeth thee. Let our Lord therefore command thy servants that are before thee to seek a man that is a cunning player upon the harp, that when the evil spirit of God cometh upon thee, he may play with his hand, and thou mayest be eased. Saul then said unto his servants, Provide me a man, I pray you, that can play well, and bring him to me. Then answered one of his servants, and said, Behold, I have seen a son of Jesse, a Bethlehemite, that can play, and is strong, valiant, and a man of war, and wise in manners, and a comely person, and the Lord is with him. Wherefore Saul sent messengers unto Jesse, and said, Send me David thy son, which is with the sheep. And Jesse took an ass, laden with bread, and a flagon of wine, and a kid, and sent them by the hand of David his son unto Saul. And David came to Saul, and stood before him, and he loved him very well, and he was his armor-bearer. And Saul sent to Jesse, saying, Let David now remain with me, for he hath found favor in my sight. And so when the evil spirit of God came upon Saul, David took an harp, and played with his hand. And Saul was refreshed, and was eased, for the evil spirit departed from him. 1 Samuel chapter 17. Now the Philistines gathered their armies to battle, and came together to Socoh, which is in Judah, and pitched between Socoh and Azekah, in the coast of Damim. And Saul and the men of Israel assembled and pitched in the valley of Elah, and put themselves in battle array to meet the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side. So a valley was between them. Then came a man between them both, out of the tents of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath. His height was 6 cubits, and an handbreadth, and had an helmet of brass upon his head, and a brigandine upon him, and the weight of his brigandine was 5,000 shekels of brass. And he had boots of brass upon his legs, and a shield of brass upon his shoulders, and the shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear head weighed 600 shekels of iron. And one bearing a shield went before him. And he stood, and cried against the host of Israel, and said unto them, Why are ye come to set your battle in array? Am not I a Philistine, and you servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me, and kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I overcome him, and kill him, then shall ye be our servants, and serve us. Also the Philistine said, I defy the host of Israel this day. Give me a man, that we may fight together. When Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were discouraged, and greatly afraid. Now this David was the son of an Ephrathite, of Bethlehem, Judah, named Jesse, which had 8 sons, and this man was taken for an old man in the days of Saul. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons that went to battle were Eliab the eldest, and the next Abinadab, and the third Shammah. So David was the least, and the 3 eldest went after Saul. David also went, but he returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep in Bethlehem. And the Philistine drew near in the morning and evening, and continued 40 days. And Jesse said unto David his son, Take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn, and these 10 cakes, and run to the host, to thy brethren. Also carry these 10 fresh cheeses unto the captain, and look how thy brethren fare, and receive their pledge. Then Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. So David rose up early in the morning, and left the sheep with a keeper, and took and went as Jesse had commanded him, and came within the compass of the host. And the host went out in array, and shouted in the battle. For Israel and the Philistines had put themselves in array, army against army. And David left the things which he bare under the hands of the keeper of the carriage, and ran into the host, and came, and asked his brethren how they did. And as he talked with them, behold, the man that was between the 2 armies came up, whose name was Goliath, the Philistine of Gath, out of the army of the Philistines, and spake such words. And David heard them. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, ran away from him, and were sore afraid. For every man of Israel said, Saw ye not this man that cometh up? Even to revile Israel is he come up. And to him that killeth him will the king give great riches, and will give him his daughter, yea, and make his father's house free in Israel. Then David spake to the men that stood with him, and said, What shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and taketh away the shame from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should revile the host of the living God? And the people answered him after this manner, saying, Thus shall it be done to the man that killeth him. And Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spake unto the men. And Eliab was very angry with David, and said, Why camest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride, and the malice of thine heart, that thou art come down to see the battle. Then David said, What have I now done? Is there not a cause? And he departed from him into the presence of another, and spake of the same manner. And the people answered him according to the former words. And they that heard the words which David spake rehearsed them before Saul, which caused him to be brought. So David said to Saul, Let no man's heart fail him because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And Saul said to David, Thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art a boy, and he is a man of war from his youth. And David answered unto Saul, Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion, and likewise a bear, and took a sheep out of the flock. And I went out after him, and smote him, and took it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by the beard, and smote him, and slew him. So thy servant slew both the lion and the bear. Therefore this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he hath railed on the host of the living God. Moreover David said, The Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion, and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. Then Saul said unto David, Go, and the Lord be with thee. And Saul put his raiment upon David, and put an helmet of brass upon his head, and put a brigandine upon him. Then girded David his sword upon his raiment, and began to go, for he never proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I am not accustomed. Wherefore David put them off him. Then took he his staff in his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of a brook, and put them in his shepherd's bag, or scrip. And his sling was in his hand. And he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came, and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. Now when the Philistine looked about, and saw David, he disdained him. For he was but young, ruddy, and of a comely face. And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog, that thou comest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the heaven, and to the beasts of the field. Then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the host of Israel, whom thou hast railed upon. This day shall the Lord close thee in mine hand, and I shall smite thee, and take thine head from thee. And I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the heaven, and to the beasts of the earth, that all the world may know that Israel hath a God, and that all this assembly may know that the Lord saveth not with sword nor with spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into your hands. And when the Philistine arose to come and draw near unto David, David hasted, and ran to fight against the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag, and took out a stone, and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sticked in his forehead, and he fell, grovelling, to the earth. So David overcame the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine, and slew him, when David had no sword in his hand. Then David ran, and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword, and drew it out of his sheath, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. So when the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and Judah arose, and shouted, and followed after the Philistines, until they came to the valley, and unto the gates of Ekron. And the Philistines fell down wounded by the way of Shaaraim, even to Gath, and to Ekron. And the children of Israel returned from pursuing the Philistines, and spoiled their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine, and brought it to Jerusalem, and put his armor in his tent. When Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, he said unto Abner, the captain of his host, Abner, whose son is this young man? And Abner answered, As thy soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell. Then the king said, Inquire thou whose son this young man is. And when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, then Abner took him, and brought him before Saul, with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him, Whose son art thou, thou young man? And David answered, I am the son of thy servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite. 1 Samuel chapter 18. And when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. And Saul took him that day, and would not let him return to his father's house. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant, for he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan put off the robe that was upon him, and gave it David, and his garments, even to his sword, and to his bow, and to his girdle. And David went out whithersoever Saul sent him, and behaved himself wisely, so that Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants. When they came again, and David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, the women came out of all cities of Israel, singing and dancing, to meet King Saul, with timbrels, with instruments of joy, and with rebecks. And the women sang by course in their play, and said, Saul hath slain his 1,000, and David his 10,000. Therefore Saul was exceedingly wroth, and the saying displeased him. And he said, They have ascribed unto David 10,000, and to me they have ascribed but 1,000. And what can he have more save the kingdom? Wherefore Saul had an eye on David from that day forward. And on the morrow the evil spirit of God came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house. And David played with his hand, like as at other times, and there was a spear in Saul's hand. And Saul took the spear, and said, I will smite David through to the wall. But David avoided twice out of his presence. And Saul was afraid of David, because the Lord was with him, and was departed from Saul. Therefore Saul put him from him, and made him a captain over 1,000. And he went out and in before the people. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, for the Lord was with him. Wherefore when Saul saw that he was very wise, he was afraid of him. For all Israel and Judah loved David, because he went out and in before them. Then Saul said to David, Behold mine eldest daughter Merab. Her I will give thee to wife. Only be a valiant son unto me, and fight the Lord's battles. For Saul thought, Mine hand shall not be upon him, but the hand of the Philistines shall be upon him. And David answered Saul, What am I? And what is my life, or the family of my father in Israel, that I should be son-in-law to the king? Howbeit when Merab, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, she was given unto Adriel, a Maholathite, to wife. Then Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David. And they showed Saul, and the thing pleased him. Therefore Saul said, I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him, and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, Thou shalt this day be my son-in-law, in the one of the twain. And Saul commanded his servants, Speak with David secretly, and say, Behold, the king hath a favor to thee, and all his servants love thee. Be now therefore the king's son-in-law. And Saul's servants spake these words in the ears of David. And David said, Seemeth it to you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing that I am a poor man and of small reputation? And then Saul's servants brought him word again, saying, Such words spake David. And Saul said, This wise shall ye say to David, The king desireth no dowry, but 100 foreskins of the Philistines, to be avenged of the king's enemies. For Saul thought to make David fall into the hands of the Philistines. And when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law, and the days were not expired. Afterward David arose with his men, and went and slew of the Philistines 200 men. And David brought their foreskins, and they gave them wholly to the king, that he might be the king's son-in-law. Therefore Saul gave him Michal, his daughter, to wife. Then Saul saw and understood that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, the daughter of Saul, loved him. Then Saul was more and more afraid of David, and Saul became always David's enemy. And when the princes of the Philistines went forth, at their going forth, David behaved himself more wisely than all the servants of Saul, so that his name was much set by. 1 Samuel, chapter 19. Then Saul spake to Jonathan his son, and to all his servants, that they should kill David. But Jonathan, Saul's son, had a great favor to David. And Jonathan told David, saying, Saul my father goeth about to slay thee. Now therefore, I pray thee, take heed unto thyself, unto the morning, and abide in a secret place, and hide thyself. And I will go out, and stand by my father, in the field where thou art, and will commune with my father of thee. And I will see what he saith, and will tell thee. And Jonathan spake good of David unto Saul his father, and said unto him, Let not the king sin against his servant, against David, for he hath not sinned against thee, but his works have been to thee very good. For he did put his life in danger, and slew the Philistine, and the Lord wrought a great salvation for all Israel. Thou sawest it, and thou rejoicedst. Wherefore then wilt thou sin against innocent blood, and slay David without a cause? Then Saul hearkened unto the voice of Jonathan, and Saul swore, As the Lord liveth, he shall not die. So Jonathan called David, and Jonathan showed him all those words. And Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as in times past. Again the war began. And David went out and fought with the Philistines, and slew them with a great slaughter, and they fled from him. And the evil spirit of the Lord was upon Saul, as he sat in his house, having his spear in his hand, and David played with his hand. And Saul intended to smite David to the wall with the spear. But he turned aside out of Saul's presence, and he smote the spear against the wall. But David fled, and escaped the same night. Saul also sent messengers unto David's house, to watch him, and to slay him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told it him, saying, If thou save not thyself this night, tomorrow thou shalt be slain. So Michal let David down through a window, and he went, and fled, and escaped. Then Michal took an image, and laid it in the bed, and put a pillow, stuffed with goat's hair, under the head of it, and covered it with a cloth. And when Saul sent messengers to take David, she said, He is sick. And Saul sent the messengers again to see David, saying, Bring him to me in the bed, that I may slay him. And when the messengers were come in, behold, an image was in the bed with a pillow of goat's hair under the head of it. And Saul said unto Michal, Why hast thou mocked me so, and sent away mine enemy, that he is escaped? And Michal answered Saul, He said unto me, Let me go, or else I will kill thee. So David fled, and escaped, and came to Samuel to Ramah, and told him all that Saul had done to him. And he and Samuel went and dwelt in Naioth. But one told Saul, saying, Behold, David is at Naioth in Ramah. And Saul sent messengers to take David. And when they saw a company of prophets prophesying, and Samuel standing as appointed over them, the Spirit of God fell upon the messengers of Saul, and they also prophesied. And when it was told Saul, he sent other messengers, and they prophesied likewise. Again, Saul sent the third messengers, and they prophesied also. Then went he himself to Ramah, and came to a great well that is in Seku. And he asked, and said, Where are Samuel and David? And one said, Behold, they be at Naioth in Ramah. And he went thither, even to Naioth in Ramah. And the Spirit of God came upon him also, and he went prophesying until he came to Naioth in Ramah. And he stripped off his clothes, and he prophesied also before Samuel, and fell down naked all that day, and all that night. Therefore they say, Is Saul also among the prophets? 1 Samuel, chapter 20. And David fled from Naioth in Ramah, and came and said before Jonathan, What have I done? What is mine iniquity? And what sin have I committed before thy father, that he seeketh my life? And he said unto him, God forbid, thou shalt not die. Behold, my father will do nothing great nor small, but he will show it me. And why should my father hide this thing from me? He will not do it. And David swore again, and said, Thy father knoweth that I have found grace in thine eyes. Therefore he thinketh, Jonathan shall not know it, lest he be sorry. But indeed, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, there is but a step between me and death. Then said Jonathan unto David, Whatsoever thy soul requireth, that I will do unto thee. And David said unto Jonathan, Behold, tomorrow is the first day of the month, and I should sit with the king at meat. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the fields unto the third day at even. If thy father make mention of me, then say, David asked leave of me, that he might go to Bethlehem, to his own city. For there is a yearly sacrifice for all that family. And if he say thus, It is well, thy servant shall have peace. But if he be angry, be sure that wickedness is concluded of him. So shalt thou show mercy unto thy servant, for thou hast joined thy servant into a covenant of the Lord with thee. And if there be in me iniquity, slay thou me. For why shouldest thou bring me to thy father? And Jonathan answered, God keep that from thee. For if I knew that wickedness were concluded of my father to come upon thee, would not I tell it thee? Then said David to Jonathan, Who shall tell me? How shall I know if thy father answer thee cruelly? And Jonathan said to David, Come, and let us go out into the field. And they twain went out into the field. Then Jonathan said to David, O Lord God of Israel, when I have groped my father's mind tomorrow at this time, or within this 3 days, and if it be well with David, and I then send not unto thee, and show it thee, the Lord do so and much more unto Jonathan. But if my father have mind to do thee evil, I will show thee also, and send thee away, that thou mayest go in peace. And the Lord be with thee, as he hath been with my father. Likewise I require not whiles I live, for I doubt not, but thou wilt show me the mercy of the Lord, that I die not. But I require that thou cut not off thy mercy from mine house forever. No, not when the Lord hath destroyed the enemies of David, every one from the earth. So Jonathan made a bond with the house of David, saying, Let the Lord require it at the hands of David's enemies. And again Jonathan swore unto David, because he loved him, for he loved him as his own soul. Then said Jonathan to him, Tomorrow is the 1st day of the month, and thou shalt be looked for thy place shall be empty. Therefore thou shalt hide thyself 3 days. Then thou shalt go down quickly, and come to the place where thou didst hide thyself when this matter was in hand, and shalt remain by the stone Ezel. And I will shoot 3 arrows on the side thereof, as though I shot at a mark. And after I will send a boy, saying, Go, seek the arrows. If I say unto the boy, See, the arrows are on this side thee, bring them, and come thou, for it is well with thee, and no hurt, as the Lord liveth. But if I say thus unto the boy, Behold, the arrows are beyond thee, go thy way, for the Lord hath sent thee away. As touching the thing which thou and I have spoken of, behold, the Lord be between thee and me forever. So David hid himself in the field, and when the 1st day of the month came, the king sat to eat meat. And the king sat, as at other times, upon his seat, even upon his seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side. But David's place was empty. And Saul said nothing that day, for he thought, Something hath befallen him, though he were clean, or else because he was not purified. But on the morrow, which was the 2nd day of the month, David's place was empty again. And Saul said unto Jonathan his son, Wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meat, neither yesterday nor today? And Jonathan answered unto Saul, David required of me that he might go to Bethlehem. For he said, Let me go, I pray thee, for our family offereth a sacrifice in the city, and my brother hath sent for me. Therefore now if I have found favor in thine eyes, let me go, I pray thee, and see my brethren. This is the cause that he cometh not unto the king's table. Then was Saul angry with Jonathan, and said unto him, Thou son of the wicked rebellious woman, do not I know that thou hast chosen the son of Jesse to thy confusion, and to the confusion and shame of thy mother? For as long as the son of Jesse liveth upon the earth, thou shalt not be established, nor thy kingdom, Wherefore now send and fet him unto me, for he shall surely die. And Jonathan answered unto Saul his father, and said unto him, Wherefore shall he die? What hath he done? And Saul cast a spear at him to hit him, whereby Jonathan knew that it was determined of his father to slay David. So Jonathan arose from the table in a great anger, and did eat no meat the 2nd day of the month. For he was sorry for David, and because his father had reviled him. On the next morning therefore Jonathan went out into the field, at the time appointed, with David, and a little boy with him. And he said unto his boy, Run now, seek the arrows which I shoot. And as the boy ran, he shot an arrow behind him. And when the boy was come to the place where the arrow was that Jonathan had shot, Jonathan cried after the boy, and said, Is not the arrow beyond thee? And Jonathan cried after the boy, Make speed, haste, and stand not still. And Jonathan's boy gathered up the arrows, and came to his master. But the boy knew nothing, only Jonathan and David knew the matter. Then Jonathan gave his bow and arrows unto the boy that was with him, and said unto him, Go, carry them into the city. As soon as the boy was gone, David arose out of a place that was toward the south, and fell on his face to the ground, and bowed himself 3 times. And they kissed one another, and wept both twain, till David exceeded. Therefore Jonathan said to David, Go in peace, that which we have sworn both of us in the name of the Lord, saying, The Lord be between me and thee, and between my seed and between thy seed. Let it stand forever. And he arose and departed, and Jonathan went into the city. 1 Samuel, chapter 21. Then came David to Nob, to Ahimelech the priest. And Ahimelech was astonied at the meeting of David, and said unto him, Why art thou alone, and no man with thee? And David said to Ahimelech the priest, The king hath commanded me a certain thing, and hath said unto me, Let no man know whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded thee, and I have appointed my servants to such and such places. Now therefore, if thou hast aught under thine hand, give me 5 cakes of bread, or what cometh to hand. And the priest answered David, and said, There is no common bread under mine hand, but here is hallowed bread, if the young men have kept themselves, at least from women. David then answered the priest, and said unto him, Certainly women have been separate from us these 2 or 3 days since I came out, and the vessels of the young men were holy, though the way were profane. And how much more then shall every one be sanctified this day in the vessel? So the priest gave him hallowed bread, for there was no bread there, save the showbread that was taken from before the Lord, to put hot bread there the day that it was taken away. And there was the same day one of the servants of Saul, abiding before the Lord, named Doeg the Edomite, the chiefest of Saul's herdmen. And David said unto Ahimelech, Is there not here under thine hand a spear or a sword? For I have neither brought my sword nor mine harness with me, because the king's business required haste. And the priest said, The sword of Goliath the Philistine, whom thou slewest in the valley of Elah, behold, it is wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If thou wilt take that to thee, take it, for there is none other save that here. And David said, There is none to that, give it me. And David arose and fled the same day from the presence of Saul, and went to Achish, the king of Gath. And the servants of Achish said unto him, Is not this David the king of the land? Did they not sing unto him in dances, saying, Saul hath slain his 1,000, and David his 10,000? And David considered these words, and was sore afraid of Achish the king of Gath. And he changed his behavior before them, and feigned himself mad in their hands, and scrabbled on the doors of the gate, and let his spittle fall down upon his beard. Then said Achish unto his servants, Lo, ye see the man is beside himself. Wherefore have ye brought him to me? Have I need of madmen, that ye have brought this fellow to play the madman in my presence? Shall he come into mine house? 1 Samuel chapter 22. David therefore departed thence, and saved himself in the cave of Adullam. And when his brethren and all his father's house heard it, they went down thither to him. And there gathered unto him all men that were in trouble, and all men that were in debt, and all those that were vexed in mind. And he was their prince, and there were with him about 400 men. And David went thence to Mizpah in Moab, and said unto the king of Moab, I pray thee, let my father and my mother come and abide with you, till I know what God will do for me. And he brought them before the king of Moab, and they dwelt with him all the while that David was in the hold. And the prophet Gad said unto David, Abide not in the hold, but depart, and go into the land of Judah. Then David departed, and came into the forest of Hereth. And Saul heard that David was discovered, and the men that were with him. And Saul remained in Gibeah under a tree in Ramah, having his spear in his hand. And all his servants stood about him. And Saul said unto his servants that stood about him, Hear now the sons of Benjamin. Will the son of Jesse give every one of you fields and vineyards? Will he make you all captains over thousands, and captains over hundreds? That all ye have conspired against me, and there is none that telleth me that my son hath made a covenant with the son of Jesse. And there is none of you that is sorry for me, or showeth me that my son hath stirred up my servant to lie in wait against me, as appeareth this day. Then answered Doeg the Edomite, who was appointed over the servants of Saul, and said, I saw the son of Jesse, when he came to Nob, to Ahimelech, the son of Ahitub, who asked counsel of the Lord for him, and gave him victuals, and he gave him also the sword of Goliath the Philistine. Then the king sent to call Ahimelech the priest, the son of Ahitub, and all his father's house, to wit, the priests that were in Nob. And they came all to the king. And Saul said, Hear now, thou son of Ahitub. And he answered, Here I am, my lord. Then Saul said unto him, Why have ye conspired against me, thou and the son of Jesse, in that thou hast given him victual and a sword, and hast asked counsel of God for him, that he should rise against me, and lie in wait, as appeareth this day? And Ahimelech answered the king, and said, Who is so faithful among all thy servants as David, being also the king's son-in-law, and goeth at thy commandment, and is honorable in thine house? Have I this day first begun to ask counsel of God for him? Be it far from me. Let not the king impute anything unto his servant, nor to all the house of my father. For thy servant knew nothing of all this, less nor more. Then the king said, Thou shalt surely die, Ahimelech, thou and all thy father's house. And the king said unto the sergeants that stood about him, Turn, and slay the priests of the Lord, because their hand also is with David, and because they knew when he fled, and showed it not unto me. But the servants of the king would not move their hands to fall upon the priests of the Lord. Then the king said to Doeg, Turn thou, and fall upon the priests. And Doeg the Edomite turned, and ran upon the priests, and slew that same day 85 persons that did wear a linen ephod. Also Nob, the city of the priests, smote he with the edge of the sword, both man and woman, both child and suckling, both ox and ass, and sheep with the edge of the sword. But one of the sons of Ahimelech, the son of Ahitub, whose name was Abiathar, escaped, and fled after David. And Abiathar showed David that Saul had slain the Lord's priests. And David said unto Abiathar, I knew it the same day, when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would tell Saul, I am the cause of the death of all the persons of thy father's house. Abide thou with me, and fear not, for he that seeketh my life shall seek thy life also. For with me thou shalt be in safeguard. 1 Samuel, chapter 23. Then they told David, saying, Behold, the Philistines fight against Keilah, and spoil the barns. Therefore David asked counsel of the Lord, saying, Shall I go and smite these Philistines? And the Lord answered David, Go, and smite the Philistines, and save Keilah. And David's men said unto him, See, we be afraid here in Judah. How much more if we come to Keilah, against the host of the Philistines? Then David asked counsel of the Lord again, and the Lord answered him, and said, Arise, go down to Keilah, for I will deliver the Philistines into thine hand. So David and his men went to Keilah, and fought with the Philistines, and brought away their cattle, and smote them with a great slaughter. Thus David saved the inhabitants of Keilah. And when Abiathar the son of Ahimelech fled to David to Keilah, he brought an ephod with him. And it was told Saul that David was come to Keilah. And Saul said, God hath delivered him into mine hand, for he is shut in, seeing he is come into a city that hath gates and bars. Then Saul called all the people together to war for to go down to Keilah, and to besiege David and his men. And David, having knowledge that Saul imagined mischief against him, said to Abiathar the priest, Bring the ephod. Then said David, O Lord God of Israel, thy servant hath heard that Saul is about to come to Keilah, to destroy the city for my sake. Will the lords of Keilah deliver me up into his hand? And will Saul come down, as thy servant hath heard? O Lord God of Israel, I beseech thee, tell thy servant. And the Lord said, He will come down. Then said David, Will the lords of Keilah deliver me up, and the men that are with me, into the hand of Saul? And the Lord said, They will deliver thee up. Then David and his men, which were about 600, arose and departed out of Keilah, and went whither they could. And it was told Saul that David was fled from Keilah, and he left off his journey. And David abode in the wilderness in the holds, and remained in a mountain in the wilderness of Ziph. And Saul sought him every day, but God delivered him not into his hand. And David saw that Saul was come out for to seek his life. And David was in the wilderness of Ziph in the wood. And Jonathan, Saul's son, arose, and went to David into the wood, and comforted him in God, and said unto him, Fear not, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find thee, and thou shalt be king over Israel, and I shall be next unto thee, and also Saul my father knoweth it. So they twain made a covenant before the Lord, and David did remain in the wood, but Jonathan went to his house. Then came up the Ziphites to Saul to Gibeah, saying, Doth not David hide himself by us in holds, in the wood in the hill of Hachilah? which is on the right side of Jeshimen? Now therefore, O king, come down, according to all thine heart can desire, and our part shall be to deliver him into the king's hands. Then Saul said, Be ye blessed of the Lord, for ye have had compassion on me. Go, I pray you, and prepare ye yet better. Know and see his place where he haunteth, and who hath seen him there. For it is said to me, He is subtle and crafty. See therefore, and know all the secret places where he hideth himself, and come ye again to me with the certainty, and I will go with you. And if he be in the land, I will search him out throughout all the thousands of Judah. Then they arose, and went to Ziph before Saul. But David and his men were in the wilderness of Maon, in the plain, on the right hand of Jeshimen. Saul also and his men went to seek him, and they told David. Wherefore he came down unto a rock, and abode in the wilderness of Maon. And when Saul heard that, he followed after David in the wilderness of Maon. And Saul and his men went on the one side of the mountain, and David and his men on the other side of the mountain. And David made haste to get from the presence of Saul, for Saul and his men compassed David and his men round about, to take them. But there came a messenger to Saul, saying, Haste thee, and come, for the Philistines have invaded the land. Wherefore Saul returned from pursuing David, and went against the Philistines. Therefore they called that place Selah Hamaleketh. 1 Samuel chapter 24. And David went thence, and dwelt in holds at Engedi. When Saul was turned from the Philistines, they told him, saying, Behold, David is in the wilderness of Engedi. Then Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of all Israel, and went to seek David and his men upon the rocks among the wild goats. And he came to the sheepcotes by the way where there was a cave, and Saul went in to do his easement. And David and his men sat in the inward parts of the cave. And the men of David said unto him, See, the day is come, whereof the Lord said unto thee, Behold, I will deliver thine enemy into thine hand, and thou shalt do to him as it shall seem good to thee. Then David arose and cut off the lap of Saul's garment privily. And afterward David was touched in his heart, because he had cut off the lap which was on Saul's garment. And he said unto his men, The Lord keep me from doing that thing unto my master the Lord's anointed, to lay mine hand upon him, for he is the anointed of the Lord. So David overcame his servants with these words, and suffered them not to arise against Saul. For Saul rose up out of the cave, and went away. David also arose afterward, and went out of the cave, and cried after Saul, saying, O my lord the king! And when Saul looked behind him, David inclined his face to the earth, and bowed himself. And David said to Saul, Wherefore givest thou an ear to men's words that say, Behold, David seeketh evil against thee? Behold, this day thine eyes have seen, that the Lord had delivered thee this day into mine hand in the cave, and some bade me kill thee. But I had compassion on thee, and said, I will not lay mine hand on my master, for he is the Lord's anointed. Moreover, my father, behold, I say, the lap of thy garment in mine hand. For when I cut off the lap of thy garment, I killed thee not. Understand and see that there is neither evil nor wickedness in me, neither have I sinned against thee, yet thou huntest after my soul to take it. The Lord be judge between thee and me, and the Lord avenge me of thee, and let not mine hand be upon thee. According as the old proverb saith, Wickedness proceedeth from the wicked. But mine hand be not upon thee. After whom is the king of Israel come out? After whom dost thou pursue? After a dead dog, and after a flea? The Lord therefore be judge, and judge between thee and me, and see, and plead my cause, and deliver me out of thine hand. When David had made an end of speaking these words to Saul, Saul said, Is this thy voice, my son David? And Saul lifted up his voice and wept, and said to David, Thou art more righteous than I, for thou hast rendered me good, and I have rendered thee evil. And thou hast showed this day that thou hast dealt well with me, forasmuch as when the Lord had closed me in thine hands, thou killedst me not. For who shall find his enemy, and let him depart free? Wherefore the Lord render thee good for that thou hast done unto me this day. For now, behold, I know that thou shalt be king, and that the kingdom of Israel shall be stablished in thine hand. Swear now therefore unto me by the Lord, that thou wilt not destroy my seed after me, and that thou wilt not abolish my name out of my father's house. So David swore unto Saul, and Saul went home. But David and his men went up unto the hold. 1 Samuel chapter 25. Then Samuel died, and all Israel assembled, and mourned for him, and buried him in his own house at Ramah. And David arose, and went down to the wilderness of Paran. Now in Maon was a man, who had his possession in Carmel. And the man was exceeding mighty, and had 3,000 sheep, and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel. The name also of the man was Nabal, and the name of his wife Abigail. And she was a woman of singular wisdom, and beautiful, but the man was churlish, and evil-conditioned, and was of the family of Caleb. And David heard in the wilderness that Nabal did shear his sheep. Therefore David sent 10 young men, and David said unto the young men, Go up to Carmel, and go to Nabal, and ask him in my name how he doeth. And thus shall ye say for salutation, Both thou and thine house, and all that thou hast, be in peace, wealth, and prosperity. Behold, I have heard that thou hast shearers. Now thy shepherds were with us, and we did them no hurt, neither did they miss anything all the while they were in Carmel. Ask thy servants, and they will show thee. Wherefore let these young men find favor in thine eyes, for we come in a good season. Give, I pray thee, whatsoever cometh to thine hand, unto thy servants, and to thy son David. And when David's young men came, they told Nabal all those words in the name of David, and held their peace. Then Nabal answered David's servants, and said, Who is David, and who is the son of Jesse? There be many servants nowadays that break away every man from his master. Shall I then take my bread and my water, and my flesh that I have killed for my shearers, and give it unto men whom I know not whence they be? So David's servants turned their way, and went again, and came and told him all those things. And David said unto his men, Gird every man his sword about him. And they girded every man his sword. David also girded his sword. And about 400 men went up after David, and 200 abode by the carriage. Now one of the servants told Abigail, Nabal's wife, saying, Behold, David sent messengers out of the wilderness to salute our master, and he railed on them. Notwithstanding, the men were very good unto us, and we had no displeasure, neither missed we anything as long as we were conversant with them when we were in the fields. They were as a wall unto us both by night and by day, all the while we were with them keeping sheep. Now therefore take heed, and see what thou shalt do. For evil will surely come upon our master, and upon all his family. For he is so wicked, that a man cannot speak to him. Then Abigail made haste, and took 200 cakes, and 2 bottles of wine, and 5 sheep ready dressed, and 5 measures of parched corn, and 100 frails of raisins, and 200 of figs, and laid them on asses. Then she said unto her servants, Go ye before me, behold, I will come after you. Yet she told not her husband Nabal. And as she rode on her ass, she came down by a secret place of the mountain, and behold, David and his men came down against her, and she met them. And David said, Indeed, I have kept all in vain that this fellow had in the wilderness, so that nothing was missed of all that pertained unto him. For he hath requited me evil for good. So and more also do God unto the enemies of David. For surely I will not leave of all that he hath by the dawning of the day any that pisseth against the wall. And when Abigail saw David, she hasted and lighted off her ass, and fell before David on her face, and bowed herself to the ground, and fell at his feet, and said, O my Lord, I have committed the iniquity, and I pray thee, let thine handmaid speak to thee, and hear thou the words of thine handmaid. Let not, my Lord, I pray thee, regard this wicked man Nabal, for as his name is, so is he. Nabal is his name, and folly is with him. But I, thine handmaid, saw not the young men of my Lord whom thou sentest. Now therefore, my Lord, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, the Lord I say that hath withholden thee from coming to shed blood, and that thine hand should not save thee, so now thine enemies shall be as Nabal, and they that intend to do my Lord evil. And now this blessing which thine handmaid hath brought unto my Lord, let it be given unto the young men that follow my Lord. I pray thee, forgive the trespass of thine handmaid, for the Lord will make my Lord a sure house. Because my Lord fighteth the battles of the Lord, and none evil hath been found in thee in all thy life. Yet a man hath risen up to persecute thee, and to seek thy soul. But the soul of my Lord shall be bound in the bundle of life with the Lord thy God. And the soul of thine enemies shall God cast out, as out of the middle of a sling. And when the Lord shall have done to my Lord all the good that he hath promised thee, and shall have made thee ruler over Israel, then shall it be no grief unto thee, nor offense of mind unto my Lord, that he hath not shed blood causeless, nor that my Lord hath not preserved himself. And when the Lord shall have dealt well with my Lord, remember thine handmaid. Then David said to Abigail, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, which sent thee this day to meet me. And blessed be thy counsel, and blessed be thou, which hast kept me this day from coming to shed blood. And that mine hand hath not saved me. For indeed, as the Lord God of Israel liveth, who hath kept me back from hurting thee, except thou hadst hasted and met me, surely there had not been left unto Nabal by the dawning of the day any that pisseth against the wall. Then David received of her hand that which she had brought him, and said to her, Go up in peace to thine house. Behold, I have heard thy voice, and have granted thy petition. So Abigail came to Nabal, and behold, he made a feast in his house, like the feast of a king, and Nabal's heart was merry within him, for he was very drunken. Wherefore she told him nothing, neither less nor more, until the morning arose. Then in the morning, when the wine was gone out of Nabal, his wife told him those words, and his heart died within him, and he was like a stone. and about 10 days after, the Lord smote Nabal, that he died. Now when David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, Blessed be the Lord, that hath judged the cause of my rebuke of the hand of Nabal, and hath kept his servant from evil. For the Lord hath recompensed the wickedness of Nabal upon his own head. Also David sent to commune with Abigail, to take her to his wife. And when the servants of David were come to Abigail to Carmel, they spake unto her, saying, David sent us to thee, to take thee to his wife. And she arose, and bowed herself on her face to the earth, and said, Behold, let thine handmaid be a servant to wash the feet of the servants of my lord. And Abigail hasted, and arose, and rode upon an ass, and her 5 maids followed her, and she went after the messengers of David, and was his wife. David also took Ahinoam of Jezreel, and they were both his wives. Now Saul had given Michal his daughter, David's wife, to Paltai, the son of Laish, which was of Gallim. 1 Samuel, chapter 26. Again the Ziphites came unto Saul to Gibeah, saying, Doth not David hide himself in the hill of Hachilah, before Jeshimen? Then Saul arose, and went down to the wilderness of Ziph, having 3,000 chosen men of Israel with him, for to seek David in the wilderness of Ziph. And Saul pitched in the hill of Hachilah, which is before Jeshimen, by the wayside. Now David abode in the wilderness, and he saw that Saul came after him into the wilderness. For David had sent out spies, and understood that Saul was come in very deed. Then David arose, and came to the place where Saul had pitched. And when David beheld the place where Saul lay, and Abner the son of Ner, which was his chief captain, for Saul lay in the fort, and the people pitched round about him. Then spake David, and said to Ahimelech the Hittite, and to Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, brother to Joab, saying, Who will go down with me to Saul to the host? Then Abishai said, I will go down with thee. So David and Abishai came down to the people by night, and behold, Saul lay sleeping within the fort, and his spear did stick in the ground at his head. And Abner and the people lay round about him. Then said Abishai to David, God hath closed thine enemy into thine hand this day. Now therefore, I pray thee, let me smite him once with a spear to the earth, and I will not smite him again. And David said to Abishai, Destroy him not, for who can lay his hand on the Lord's anointed, and be guiltless? Moreover, David said, As the Lord liveth, either the Lord shall smite him, or his day shall come to die, or he shall descend into battle and perish. The Lord keep me from laying my hand upon the Lord's anointed. But I pray thee, take now the spear that is at his head, and the pot of water, and let us go hence. So David took the spear and the pot of water from Saul's head, and they got them away, and no man saw it, nor marked it, neither did any awake, but they were all asleep. For the Lord had sent a dead sleep upon them. Then David went unto the other side, and stood on the top of an hill afar off, a great space being between them. And David cried to the people, and to Abner, the son of Ner, saying, Hearest thou not, Abner? Then Abner answered, and said, Who art thou that criest to the king? And David said to Abner, Art not thou a man? And who is like thee in Israel? Wherefore when hast thou not kept thy lord the king? For there came one of the folk in to destroy the king thy lord. This is not well done of thee. As the Lord liveth, ye are worthy to die, because ye have not kept your master the Lord's anointed. And now see where the king's spear is, and the pot of water that was at his head? And Saul knew David's voice, and said, Is this thy voice, my son David? And David said, It is my voice, my lord, O king. And he said, Wherefore doth my lord thus persecute his servant? For what have I done, or what evil is in mine hand? Now therefore I beseech thee, let my lord the king hear the words of his servant. If the Lord have stirred thee up against me, let him smell the savour of a sacrifice. But if the children of men have done it, cursed be they before the Lord. For they have cast me out this day from abiding in the inheritance of the Lord, saying, Go, serve other gods. Now therefore let not my blood fall to the earth before the face of the Lord. For the king of Israel is come out to seek a flea, as one would hunt a partridge in the mountains. Then said Saul, I have sinned. Come again, my son David, for I will do thee no more harm, because my soul was precious in thine eyes this day. Behold, I have done foolishly, and have erred exceedingly. Then David answered and said, Behold, the king's spear, let one of the young men come over and fet it, and let the Lord reward every man according to his righteousness and faithfulness. For the Lord had delivered thee into mine hands this day, but I would not lay mine hand upon the Lord's anointed. And behold, like as thy life was much set by this day in mine eyes, so let my life be set by in the eyes of the Lord, that he may deliver me out of all tribulation. Then said Saul to David, Blessed art thou, my son David, for thou shalt do great things, and also prevail. So David went his way, and Saul returned to his place. 1 Samuel chapter 27. And David said in his heart, I shall now perish one day by the hand of Saul. Is it not better for me that I save myself in the land of the Philistines, and that Saul may have no hope of me to seek me any more in all the coasts of Israel, and so escape out of his hand? David therefore arose, and he and the 600 men that were with him went unto Achish, the son of Maach, king of Gath. And David dwelt with Achish at Gath, he and his men, every man with his household, David with his 2 wives, Ahinoam the Jezreelite, and Abigail, Nabal's wife, the Carmelite. And it was told Saul that David was fled to Gath, so he sought no more for him. And David said unto Achish, If I have now found grace in thine eyes, let them give me a place in some other city of the country, that I may dwell there. For why should thy servant dwell in the head city of the kingdom with thee? Then Achish gave him Ziklag that same day. Therefore Ziklag pertaineth unto the kings of Judah unto this day. And the time that David dwelt in the country of the Philistines was 4 months and certain days. Then David and his men went up and invaded the Geshurites, and the Girzites, and the Amalekites, for they inhabited the land from the beginning, from the way, as thou goest to Shur, even unto the land of Egypt. And David smote the land, and left neither man nor woman alive, and took sheep, and oxen, and asses, and camels, and apparel, and returned, and came to Achish. And Achish said, Where have ye been a-roving this day? And David answered, Against the south of Judah, and against the south of the Jerahmeelites, and against the south of the Kenites. And David saved neither man nor woman alive, to bring them to Gath, saying, Lest they should tell on us, and say, So did David, and so will be his manner all the while that he dwelleth in the country of the Philistines. And Achish believed David, saying, He hath made his people of Israel utterly to abhor him, therefore he shall be my servant forever. 1 Samuel chapter 28. Now at that time the Philistines assembled their bands and army to fight with Israel. Therefore Achish said to David, Be sure thou shalt go out with me to the battle, thou and thy men. And David said to Achish, Surely thou shalt know what thy servant can do. And Achish said to David, Surely I will make thee keeper of mine head forever. Samuel was then dead, and all Israel had lamented him, and buried him in Ramah his own city. And Saul had put away the sorcerers and the soothsayers out of the land. Then the Philistines assembled themselves, and came and pitched in Shunem. And Saul assembled all Israel, and they pitched in Gilboa. And when Saul saw the host of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart was sore astonied. Therefore Saul asked counsel of the Lord. And the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor yet by prophets. Then said Saul unto his servants, Seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to her, and ask of her. And his servants said to him, Behold, there is a woman at Endor that hath a familiar spirit. Then Saul changed himself, and put on other raiment, and he went, and 2 men with him, and they came to the woman by night. And he said, I pray thee, conjecture unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up, whom I shall name unto thee. And the woman said unto him, Behold, thou knowest what Saul hath done, how he hath destroyed the sorcerers and the soothsayers out of the land. Wherefore then seekest thou to take me in a snare to cause me to die? And Saul swore to her by the Lord, saying, As the Lord liveth, no harm shall come to thee for this thing. Then said the woman, Whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he answered, Bring me up Samuel. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice. And the woman spake to Saul, saying, Why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul. And the king said unto her, Be not afraid. For what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending up out of the earth. Then he said unto her, What fashion is he of? And she answered, An old man cometh up lapped in a mantle. And Saul knew that it was Samuel, and he inclined his face to the ground, and bowed himself. And Samuel said to Saul, Why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? Then Saul answered, I am in great distress, for the Philistines make war against me, and God is departed from me, and answereth me no more, neither by prophets, neither by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest tell me what I shall do. Then said Samuel, Wherefore then dost thou ask of me, seeing the Lord is gone from thee, and is thine enemy? Even the Lord hath done to him as he spake by mine hand. For the Lord will rent the kingdom out of thine hand, and give it to thy neighbor David, because thou obeyedst not the voice of the Lord, nor executedst his fierce wrath upon the Amalekites. Therefore hath the Lord done this unto thee this day. Moreover the Lord will deliver Israel with thee into the hands of the Philistines. And tomorrow shalt thou and thy sons be with me, and the Lord shall give the host of Israel into the hands of the Philistines. Then Saul fell straightway all along the earth, and was sore afraid because of the words of Samuel, so that there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no bread all the day nor all the night. Then the woman came unto Saul, and saw that he was sore troubled, and said unto him, See, thine handmaid hath obeyed thy voice, and I have put my soul in mine hand, and have obeyed thy words which thou saidst unto me. Now therefore I pray thee, hearken thou also unto the voice of thine handmaid, and let me set a morsel of bread before thee, that thou mayest eat, and get thee strength, and go on thy journey. But he refused, and said, I will not eat. But his servants and the woman together compelled him, and he obeyed their voice. So he arose from the earth, and sat on the bed. Now the woman had a fat calf in the house, and she hasted, and killed it, and took flour, and kneaded it, and baked of it unleavened bread. Then she brought them before Saul, and before his servants. And when they had eaten, they stood up, and went away the same night. 1 Samuel chapter 29. So the Philistines were gathered together with all their armies in Aphek, and the Israelites pitched by the fountain, which is in Jezreel. And the princes of the Philistines went forth by hundreds and thousands, but David and his men came behind with Achish. Then said the princes of the Philistines, What do these Hebrews here? And Achish said unto the princes of the Philistines, Is not this David, the servant of Saul, the king of Israel, who hath been with me these days, or these years, and I have found nothing in him, since he dwelt with me unto this day? But the princes of the Philistines were wroth with him, and the princes of the Philistines said unto him, Send this fellow back, that he may go again to his place which thou hast appointed him, and let him not go down with us to battle, lest that in the battle he be an adversary to us. For wherewith should he obtain the favor of his master? Should it not be with the heads of these men? Is not this David, of whom they sang in dances, saying, Saul slew his 1,000, and David his 10,000? Then Achish called David, and said unto him, As the Lord liveth, thou hast been upright and good in my sight, when thou wentest out and in with me in the host. Neither have I found evil with thee since thou camest to me unto this day. But the princes do not favor thee. Wherefore now return, and go in peace, that thou displease not the princes of the Philistines. And David said unto Achish, But what have I done? And what hast thou found in thy servant as long as I have been with thee unto this day, that I may not go and fight against the enemies of my lord the king? Achish then answered and said to David, I know thou pleasest me as an angel of God, but the princes of the Philistines have said, Let him not go up with us to battle. Wherefore now rise up early in the morning, with thy master's servants that are come with thee, and when ye be up early, as soon as ye have light, depart. So David and his men rose up early to depart in the morning, and to return into the land of the Philistines. And the Philistines went up to Jezreel. 1 Samuel chapter 30. But when David and his men were come to Ziklag the 3rd day, the Amalekites had invaded upon the south, even unto Ziklag, and had smitten Ziklag, and burnt it with fire, and had taken the women that were therein prisoners, both small and great, and slew not a man, but carried them away, and went their ways. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burnt with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken prisoners. Then David and the people that were with him lift up their voices and wept, until they could weep no more. David's 2 wives were taken prisoners also, Ahinoam the Jezreelite, and Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. And David was in great sorrow, for the people intended to stone him, because the hearts of all the people were vexed, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David comforted himself in the Lord his God. And David said to Abiathar the priest, Ahimelech's son, I pray thee, bring me the ephod. And Abiathar brought the ephod to David. Then David asked counsel of the Lord, saying, Shall I follow after this company? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, Follow, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and recover all. So David and the 600 men that were with him went, and came to the river Bezer, where a part of them abode. But David and 400 men followed, for 200 abode behind, being too weary to go over the river Bezer. And they found an Egyptian in the field, and brought him to David, and gave him bread, and he did eat, and they gave him water to drink. Also they gave him a few figs, and 2 clusters of raisins. And when he had eaten, his spirit came again to him. For he had eaten no bread, nor drunk any water in 3 days and 3 nights. And David said unto him, To whom belongest thou, and whence art thou? And he said, I am a young man of Egypt, and servant to the Amalekite, and my master left me 3 days ago, because I fell sick. We roved upon the south of Cherith, and upon the coast belonging to Judah, and upon the south of Caleb, and we burnt Ziklag with fire. And David said unto him, Canst thou bring me to this company? And he said, Swear unto me by God, that thou wilt neither kill me, nor deliver me into the hands of my master, and I will bring thee to this company. And when he had brought him thither, behold, they lay scattered abroad upon all the earth, eating and drinking and dancing, because of all the great prey that they had taken out of the land of the Philistines, and out of the land of Judah. And David smote them, from the twilight even unto the evening of the next morrow, so that there escaped not a man of them, save 400 young men, which rode upon camels, and fled. And David recovered all that the Amalekites had taken. Also David rescued his 2 wives, and they lacked nothing, small or great, son or daughter, or of the spoil of all that they had taken away. David recovered them all. David also took all the sheep and the oxen, and they drove them before his cattle, and said, This is David's prey. And David came to the 200 men that were too weary for to follow David, whom they had made also to abide at the river Bezer. And they came to meet David, and to meet the people that were with him. So when David came near to the people, he saluted them. Then answered all the evil and wicked of the men that went with David, and said, Because they went not with us, therefore we will give them none of the prey that we have recovered, save to every man his wife and his children. Therefore let them carry them away and depart. Then said David, Ye shall not do so, my brethren, with that which the Lord hath given us, who hath preserved us, and delivered the company that came against us into our hands. For who will obey you in this matter? But as his part is that goeth down to the battle, so shall his part be that tarrieth by the stuff. They shall part alike. So from that day forward he made it a statute and a law in Israel until this day. When David therefore came to Ziklag, he sent of the prey unto the elders of Judah, and to his friends, saying, See, there is a blessing for you of the spoil of the enemies of the Lord. He sent to them of Bethel, and to them of South Ramoth, and to them of Jeter, and to them of Eror, and to them of Siphmoth, and to them of Eshtemoa, and to them of Rachel, and to them of the cities of the Jerahmeelites, and to them of the cities of the Kenites, and to them of Hormah, and to them of Koration, and to them of Athek, and to them of Hebron, and to all the places where David and his men had haunted. 1 Samuel chapter 31. Now the Philistines fought against Israel, and the men of Israel fled away from the Philistines. And they fell down wounded in Mount Gilboa. And the Philistines pressed sore upon Saul and his sons, and slew Jonathan, and Abinadab, and Malchishua, Saul's sons. And when the battle went sore against Saul, the archers and bowmen hit him, and he was sore wounded of the archers. Then said Saul unto his armor-bearer, Draw out thy sword, and thrust me through therewith, lest the uncircumcised come and thrust me through and mock me. But his armor-bearer would not, for he was sore afraid. Therefore Saul took a sword and fell upon it. And when his armor-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he fell likewise upon his sword, and died with him. So Saul died, and his 3 sons, and his armor-bearer, and all his men, that same day together. And when the men of Israel that were on the other side of the valley, and they of the other side Jordan, saw that the men of Israel were put to flight, and that Saul and his sons were dead, then they left the cities, and ran away. And the Philistines came, and dwelt in them. And on the morrow, when the Philistines were come to spoil them that were slain, they found Saul and his 3 sons lying in Mount Gilboa. And they cut off his head, and stripped him out of his armor, and sent into the land of the Philistines on every side, that they should publish it in the temple of their idols, and among the people. And they laid up his armor in the house of Ashtoreth, but they hanged up his body on the wall of Bethshan. When the inhabitants of Jabesh-Gilead heard what the Philistines had done to Saul, then they arose, as many as were strong men, and went all night, and took the body of Saul, and the bodies of his sons, from the wall of Bethshan, and came to Jabesh, and burnt them there, and took their bones, and buried them under a tree at Jabesh, and fasted 7 days.